All right, so this beta is about to end. This is the server slam beta, Diablo 4. It has maybe, I don't know, 12 hours left in it. Killed the shovel a bunch of times, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about the Barbarian specifically. I had a lot of people talking to me and commenting on some videos and saying, like, what builds do you run for Barbarian? I'm gonna be a little stuck up here. I don't look things up. I don't look up builds. I try to make my own. I try to come up with my own, but I know that's not for everyone. Some people like what I'm gonna do here in this video. You want to see like what the heck works. I don't want to trial and error everything. I want to know what works. I'm gonna show you 3 builds that I like for Barbarian. 3 different builds. I have almost 200 hours in Diablo 4 from the betas, and the game hasn't even launched yet. Almost 200 hours of playtime. So I know my stuff on Barbarian, and almost all of that time was on Barbarian. So going to start off by saying my gear right now is not associated with one specific build. There's a bunch of dot-based gems for the bleed build. There's some Whirlwind stuff in there, but there isn't anything specific to double swing, but that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you double swing, Whirlwind, and a bleed build. And forgive me, I have crazy allergies right now, but before the beta ends, I wanted to do this video. I would have waited until I felt a little bit better, so it was a little... But, you know, I don't have time. Beta's going to end. So, we're going to start off with the bleed build. Keep in mind, this is your main, big, single target damage, long duration fight damage, right? You're stacking bleeds over a long duration. This is your world boss build, or double swing could be your world boss build. They're both high single target, while Whirlwind's more of like clearing dungeons quicker, right? So you might want to have two builds. I enjoy Whirlwind for clearing dungeons, leveling, and then switching over to this when I need high single target. Or maybe you're running with a group and you need to be big single target damage. Everyone else can do AoEs. That's cool. That's certainly viable. So when you run into the big elites, you run into the big bosses, you are already running the high single target damage build. So I play hardcore, really love hardcore. I'm going to show you hardcore builds, but you can always change it and go for more glass cannon build if you wish to. So we're going to pick our Rend, which is, our Flay, which is our bleed damage generator, our basic generator at the beginning. Flay has a 10% chance to make the enemy vulnerable for 2 seconds. That's great. Double chance when using two-hander. When Flay deals direct damage to an enemy, you gain 3% damage reduction, stacks to 4 times. That's 12% damage reduction, and you get some thorns. So we're going to go ahead and pick that up. We're going to come down here to Rend because we're going bleed, right? We want more bleeds. Dealing direct damage with Rend extends the duration of vulnerable on enemies by 2 seconds, and I'm going to show you something in a second. Rend deals 12% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. I like this one. You can certainly go with the more Fury with Rend. That's certainly possible, but the reason I like that is because of this. It combos really well with Flay that can provide a chance to inflict vulnerable, and this talent here, which is a 30% chance to make the enemies vulnerable. That's enough damage right there. That's all you need for your damage. If you want higher damage, you can dump points in Rend. You don't need anything else for damage yet. Moving on, Rallying Cry is great. It's fantastic. Shout to grab. I already have 2 points in there because of gear. Now, personally, if the gear is already giving me this, I'm not going to spend a point in it. But if you don't have it, you can spend a point, get Unstoppable, which is incredible, and go with the Fury generation. Personally, I do that. This is Fortify. It still helps survivability. If you want to go for this for hardcore survivability, you don't have to. Again, like I said, I already have something that's giving me this. I'm going to get 15% more max life. Like I said, I play hardcore. You want to go more damage, glass cannon, put some more points in Rallying Cry until you get over to this side, which is going to be Warcry. Warcry, incredible. Warcry grants Berserking. You don't need it for Berserking. You definitely don't have to get that. That's completely viable to grab, but you don't have to do it. Between these two, it's completely up to you, but I'm going to grab Berserking for the extra damage and just keep that. It's going to give me Berserking when I use the Warcry. Warcry is obviously, and I'm sorry I'm talking fast. I want to get to a lot of builds here. Increased damage. This is increased resource generation and movement speed. I'm going to pick it up as if I didn't have it, because I'm going to use it to get to the next section. You don't have to do that. If you're already getting it from a piece of gear, maybe you don't want to spend the point. Maybe you want to get some movement speed. That's fine. You can do that. Helps you clear. You can increase the duration of your shouts. You're going to be using 2 shouts. You have this option there as well. So I'm telling you guys, there is variations here. There's room to make adjustments. You're playing hardcore. You're more worried about your survivability. That's an option here as well. The 3% reduced damage on elites. That's a complete option to take, a viable option for survivability. But I'll pick up the Rallying Cry for Unstoppable, and I'll put a point in there just to show you guys, like, if you don't have it, you can still get there with this. Now, keep in mind, this beta caps at 20, so we're limited on our points. So I'm going to stop at the end here, but I'm going to show you what I would pick if I continued on. Now, If you want to go more glass cannon, you still want more damage. You put the point in hamstring, and you put 3 points in cut to the bone. More vulnerable specific damage. More damage to vulnerable enemies. And earlier in the build, we went over how we're going to inflict vulnerability and all the benefits of it, right? Rupture is a bleed-based ability. It does an AoE, and it removes a bleed from enemies, and it does the instant damage to enemies. I do not take this in my single target build. Don't take it. I know it sounds fun, I know it sounds great, it does a little bit of AoE, it's not worth it. It's not worth the 3 points. I'm telling you, I cannot stress it enough. It's more for like AoE clearing. Maybe you want to use bleed as your main ability, your main build. You never want to change off it. You want to use it to clear dungeons as well as main bosses. Okay, you could pick up Rupture. You could. You don't have to. I prefer points like this in here, or I play hardcore. This. 9% increased damage to close enemies, we're melee, and 6% distant damage reduction. That's pretty good for survivability. It helps keep you alive. I'll put 1 point in there, 1 point in there. I'm level 20. Now, again, you can spend points where you want to get to the next tier. We can't do that because of the limitation in the beta right now, level 20. Completely up to you what you do. All three of these are viable. Completely up to you. There's not really a right choice. I really do like Call of the Ancients. It's actually quite strong. Wrath of the Berserker is also great. Unstoppable gets you out of your stun. This is more of like your big damage, big attack. It can help you clear big crowds if you're running around as a mostly single target bleed build. And then of course when you get to the end, Gushing Wounds is your choice. It makes critical strikes and critical damage bonus work for bleeds. It is incredible. Very, very good. So, real quick, I'm going to do a short demonstration of what this looks like. First thing we're going to start doing is we're going to build some Fury, and then we're going to go over our next build real quick. So, I don't want this video to be too long. I'm already 7 minutes in. So you see, this is mostly single target. I'm not using my right click yet, which is going to be like a conical sweep. I'll use it on the next thing. So, I just built up some Fury. I'm going to leave. That enemy's going to die. Fury. I'm spending my Fury, I hit the group, I inflict a big bleed, and you see the health bars go dark, like dark gray. That's showing you that the bleed is going to finish them off. So that's going to do up to that bright portion of his health bar at the top, and it'll stop. So I know that bleed wouldn't actually kill him, so I'd have to hit him again. But if you right-click and put a nasty bleed on him with the rend, it is just insane. And keep in mind, this rend has 1 point in it. You could absolutely put more points in it to force the tree to get further. Completely viable, and it does add a fair amount of damage. It's just the scaling on leveling abilities up is not great. I'm going to use my 2 shouts here for increased Fury generation, increased damage, applying massive bleeds, and you can pretty much hit every enemy like once or twice and then just move on and keep going. And then your loot filter is very important for this type of build because you're leaving before enemies completely die. So you might hear a legendary drop, very important, if you're all about that speed clearing. So we're going to take this off, we're going to remove this, and we're going to move to the next. So that is a very, very, very viable build. I promise you it's one of my favorites, one I use for Ashava. It's how I got all my Ashava kills, except for the double swing. I did use double swing as well on one of the kills, but I decided that bleeds were my way to go. Now, Frenzy, one of the benefits of this, we're going from Flay. Got WoW on the brain. Going from Flay to Frenzy, and Rend, of course, is over here. Frenzy, dual wield, right? You gain 8% damage reduction per stack of Frenzy. It stacks up to 3 times. That's our dual wield ability like this. That's 24% damage reduction, while Frenzy is granted 60% bonus attack speed. It also generates 2 additional Fury, so it's a good way to build quick Fury, and it's a fast attacking attack because you're dual wielding. Moving on to the next thing, we're going double swing with this build. This double swing is all about berserking. Casting double swing while berserking grants 2 additional seconds of berserking. Very, very good. Now, moving on to how we're going to get berserking. This time I'm going to put, I'm going to put the points in the maximum life. I'm going to put a point in Rallying Cry, and we're going to say we want more Fury. This is an important point here. We want more Fury. Again, we get more Fury from the Frenzy. We get more Fury from that shout, and it's very, very important. Now, Warcry, that's what's going to give us our berserking. Warcry grants you berserking for 4 seconds. Huge. You don't need the extra point in here. You don't need it. but you can get the additional life as Fortify if you want that for survivability reasons. You don't need that. Now, there's some really good passive points around here. Increase the duration of shouts. We're using 2 shouts here, so they're very, very good. I wouldn't get any of these points, but this one here, increase the duration of shout, that's totally viable if you want. There's also damage reduction while berserking, and we're going to be very big on berserking, so you can put some more points in here. And in fury generation, again, there's variations here. I'm just showing you how to build a build around these specific abilities. You can put additional points in double swing, which I will do. I'll put the additional points in double swing, get me down here. Now, one of the main things I like to do with double swing for berserking is keep it up as much as possible. That's your goal with this build. With double swing is keep berserking as much as possible. So these berserking passives here, I want to get this one. These berserking passives, they're huge because you're going to be berserking all the time. But Pit Fighter, again, I took it in the other build. Huge extra damage when you're close. Reduces damage you take from enemies from further away. I got 2 additional points. Again, I'll put them in double swing. Oh, actually, I already have 3 out of 5. You can max it out 5 out of 5 if you want. Or, again, adjust that. You can go for damage reduction if you're playing hardcore. We said we want to stay alive. Put more points in there, right? Okay, I know I'm talking fast. We get to the next section. Wrath of the Berserker is the right choice. It is the only choice for Ultimate with this build. It is incredible. It is absolutely incredible. It helps you keep your berserking up, and it keeps you unstoppable. And again, we're getting berserking-based passives along the tree. We're using an ability that greatly benefits from berserking and keeps berserking up. So that's amazing. And then, of course, while it's active, you gain more damage, more movement speed, increase fury generation. That's massive. And then, while it's active, every 50 fury you spend increases Berserker's damage bonus by 25%. So damage, movement speed, fury generation. Then, the last one we pick is increase Berserk's maximum duration by 5 seconds and increases damage bonus by 25%. Those are your 2 choices. It's not optional. You have to pick those if you're running this build. Trust me on those. I don't like giving definitive answers on some stuff. As you saw, I said, hey, you can do this, you can do that. Customize it the way you want. Those I have to be very strict on, all right? To my pupils. Be very strict. You have to take those 2. They are very, very important to this build because this build's all about berserking. Now, I'm going to show you what that is, and then we're going to move on to the last build, which is going to be more AoE. It's going to be Whirlwind based. So, lots of talking. Okay, we're waiting for these NPCs here. Come on, come on, come on. Okay. Hopefully we get some good stuff to spawn, some bigger enemies. Right now I'm just one-shotting little hatchlings. I'm building up my charges. I'm getting my fury bar up there. I'm going to show you something now. Ready? I'm going to use this even though I shouldn't use it right now because there's like barely any strong enemies. Ready? I'm going to use my 2 shouts. I got berserking up. Now I want you to watch that purple face down at the bottom of the bar. See that purple face down there? That's berserking. Notice how it keeps refreshing every time I use double swing? That's because we're adding 2 seconds to the duration. There is that talent at the end that increases the berserking duration to 5 seconds cap. That makes it easier to keep the berserking running when we get to the end. It stays it at a longer duration, and the cool thing is, look at my 1 and 2 here. They're back up. I'm going to let berserking drop off just because. Just as an example, I can put it right back on. So if you get good at using your double swing, it does a lot of damage with berserking, a lot of movement speed, a lot of fury generation going on. You have those berserking-based passives that are keeping you alive because you're running those passives. You're keeping berserking up as much as possible, but it is a little bit more micromanaging. You have to worry about, okay, you don't have enough fury now, so you can't use your double swing. So fury generation's huge. It's something that's always on your mind, trying to keep that up. But if you get good at keeping it up, your shouts come back up in order to reapply berserking just in case it drops. So you get good, you're keeping it up for 20 seconds or so, your shout comes back up. It's like, if it drops off, it's not the end of the world because you can put it back up right away. There's also other ways to get berserking to get it started, get it on yourself, and then try to build it back up and keep it on. Like one of the passives is, if you use a brawler skill, which is like your leap and your charge, it'll give you berserking for 1 second. You can build that berserking up to 5 seconds when you have that final talent. So you can use your shout to get berserking, and as you see, it does very big single target damage. This is an elite. Boom. No crit there. Does pretty good damage. It is not bad. And this gear is, if I had to choose a build that my gear is associated with, it's for, half of it's for the bleed build, half of it's for Whirlwind. So you could make this a lot stronger with the legendaries that are based around double swing, obviously, right? Have it do, obviously, benefit the ability you're using in your build, right? That's how we do things. So that build gets really strong. But again, you're micromanaging your berserking timer, and a lot of people might not want to do that, but it is very strong. That is huge. That is huge. That makes it easier at the end to keep it up. I promise you that. And the other thing I was talking about here is your brawling skills damage at least one enemy. You gain berserking for 1 second. You can put more points in that. So maybe you put 2 points in there, so you get 2 seconds of it, and then you immediately double swing up to 4 seconds. You double swing again, and that should bring you right to your 5. By then, it'll tick down to 3 seconds, and then jump right up to 5 as you double swing. So you'll really, I think maybe 2 points in there at most. I wouldn't get the full 3 seconds. And then your brawling skills are, of course, your leap, your charge, or a kick. All 3 of them are viable. I like these 2 for mobility reasons. I prefer leap. Moving on to the last and final thing. I want to get this done before the server shuts down, and then I need to get some sleep. I've been up a lot. So we are going Whirlwind now. We're going to be talking Whirlwind. By the way, one quick mention about berserking again. Lunging Strike does have a thing that when you crit, you get berserking for 1.5 seconds. You can do that. However, as a hardcore player and someone that likes to build up their fury as quickly as possible, Frenzy is huge. It is amazing. The 24% damage reduction is just... it's nearly uncomparable to anything else. It's just so good. And we're picking this up for the Whirlwind build as well. So we're going to pick up Whirlwind. We're going to get the, you gain 1 Fury each time Whirlwind deals direct damage, or 4 Fury against elite enemies. That is massive. These 2 are your choice. It's either going to make Whirlwind bleed, or it's going to make Whirlwind's damage go up by 30% if you spend at least 2 seconds doing it. I'm going to choose that one. I like that one a lot. This is huge. We want to put a point in Rallying Cry. We actually make sure we pick that up because we do want to put an extra point in that. We want to get to this. Fury is important as a Whirlwind Barb. You want to make sure you keep as much Fury as possible. Again, I enjoy the max life as a hardcore player. You don't have to take this if you prefer the glass cannon builds. That's definitely an option for you if you choose to do so. But 15% max life is massive. I like taking that. Warcry, we're going to take that. Berserking, very, very good. We don't need to do the next point. What I recommend, you can either increase your damage of Whirlwind, or you can go for movement speed increase that works while you're spinning. Helps you move, go faster. That's huge for clear speed. You don't need it. You want to go more for damage, that's certainly viable as well. We'll leave 1 point in Whirlwind. We'll do the 2 points in the movement speed, get to the next section. Again, I enjoy Pit Fighter for survivability and damage reasons. I have 2 more points. We're going to max out the movement now, and we're going to go back up and put an extra point in, in Whirlwind. So there we go. There's our build. We got our Frenzy, damage reduction, our Whirlwind, the 2 passives for that. We got our Rallying Cry, we got extra life here. We got our Warcry, huge, grants berserking as well. And we got our Pit Fighter for increased damage and reduced damage we take from ranged attacks. So moving into the final build, an example of it. So obviously you're going to start, you have no Fury. So this is like your build-up stage. Generally, as you're entering a dungeon, the first thing you're doing is blah, 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 blah. You're building up a little bit. Now we got our boss. So I'm going to use my 2 shouts, and I'm going to start whirlwinding like crazy. And you'll see pretty nice movement, pretty nice damage. And like I said, we do have some legendaries with affixes that benefit Whirlwind. And you were seeing them there. 2 of them procced. I don't know if you caught them. One is a clone of myself that will come out and spin. There he is right there. He'll do some extra Whirlwinds and those tornadoes that you see up there. So with this build, it's all about trying to Fury generate and keep your Whirlwind going. The more enemies you have to hit and the more elites, the more Fury you will generate and the longer you will be able to Whirlwind. They nerfed Whirlwind a little bit here because they increased the Fury cost from 20 to 25 in this beta, but it is 100% viable and it is 100% fair. Even as a Barbarian main, I will say that the nerf is acceptable. It is fair. Because without it, you could Whirlwind essentially forever. And with these shouts, it really helps you Whirlwind, helps you generate Fury, helps you get Berserking, which is more damage, more movement speed. You keep going, keep moving. We won't grab that Shrine because we don't want it as an example. We want to show more Whirlwind off. So it works for damage. You see it works against elites, single target. It works for AoEs. It is completely viable for both playstyles. This is my preferred, like, speed leveling build. But if I'm leveling as a group, I would consider what my teammates are doing. If they're playing a class that is just great at AoE, maybe they're doing an AoE build like a Necro or Sorceress. They're handling the AoE. I might want to be the single target guy. I might want to go bleed. I might want to go double swing. So I will take that into account before I make any decision on what build I run as my final build. Perhaps start as Whirlwind, and then as everyone fleshes out into their AoE abilities, you switch on over to double swing or a bleed build. That's my envision of it. As you see, it does very, very high damage with your shouts up, berserking up, and even without it, you have the right gear. It does damage, I promise you that. And again, the bigger the crowd, the better. The more fury we will get. I wish I had like a huge crowd as an example, but I don't really see anything too big. Okay, I see some spiders here. Let's mess around with this and then we'll end this video. Okay, so we got a ton of spiders. I want to show you guys what it looks like if we whirlwind a big pack of enemies. Watch my fury bar at the bottom right. You'll see it jumps up against big enemies as big packs of enemies as you hit them. So if you continue to whirlwind through it, it's of course this talent here, this passive. You gain 1 fury for each enemy hit and 4 against elites. Huge. Very, very important. And of course, our shout helps fury generation. So we're going to use the shouts now this time and show the difference. You'll see if it does affect your fury generation with the shouts. You'll see it actually goes up more while that shout is active. So that is huge. And again, that shout is our rallying cry, which increases our resource generation by 48%. Of course, we do have this as well, where it gives us fury right off the bat, and it increases the amount we do generate, as well as the base amount that Rallying Cry gives. So Rallying Cry does, of course, give a base amount of fury resource generation, and this bolsters that. It gives you a bit extra. Then, as I was saying before, you could do shout duration increase at some point in the build. We're using 2 shouts. Very, very, very good. We want our shouts to be running as much as possible, so those are great talents as well. There are little abilities here and there, little passes to pick up in almost every build. Well, no, in every build. There's room for your decisions. You don't have to follow everything I say, and that's the glory of it, right? You don't want this is the one build, you must take every point in this build where you're doing it wrong. It's nice to have some customization. Maybe you really want those shouts to last as long as possible. So you don't take the 15% increased health. You want to go glass cannon. You want to play soft core. Go for it. Anyway, I'm going to get some sleep. It has been a long beta. A lot of Shava kills. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end, if you like the content, subscribe, comment. Let me know if you want to see anything else, any other build videos, what other future content you want to see in Diablo 4, because I'm going to be playing a hell of a lot of it. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later!